So all the old bikes used quite a bit of aluminum that was polished to different degrees. Uh, my Trail 90 and on this S-90, they have kind of a dull sheen on some of the smaller parts. The brakes, all this stuff's pretty heavily pitted, but for this stuff, we don't want to polish it. We don't want to make it look like chrome unless that's your goal. I'm trying to get it back to kind of the factory sheen. So I do a light polish on it. I don't know how well it picks up on the camera, but what we're going to do is hit it lightly with a brass brush and some Corrosion X. You could use any oil or spray lubricant, and just clean it up a bit, and I'm going to hit it lightly with the buffer. And again, we don't want to hit it too much or it's going to end up polished, and we're not trying to make this a mirror show bike. Now, depending on your aim, it doesn't take long with the buffer at all. For some of these larger pieces, I'm going to wet sand them. They're pretty heavily pitted and scratched and gouged. They don't need to be perfect, but I'm going to disassemble them completely and wet sand them down to with 600 down to maybe 1,000, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to buff these, and we're going to try to duplicate the original sheen of the aluminum. And then there's different coatings you can use on the aluminum afterwards to keep it from oxidizing or anything down the road. The one I used last time on the Trail 90 is called Shark Hide. It's made for pontoon boat pontoons and salt water to keep them from corroding. And it lasts 6 months on a pontoon boat in salt water. So on a Trail 90 that's garage kept, it's been on there for years and it still looks fantastic. It's rather expensive. It's $50 or $60 for a quart. But you wipe it on, it goes a really long way, so it's pretty good stuff. But anyway, we'll get to that point once we start getting these guys cleaned up and sanded. Got one of the brake assemblies here. It's pretty bad, pitting and stuff. So we're going to start with 400 and we're going to wet sand out all of the imperfections in the surface, and then we're going to polish it back down to a moderate sheen, kind of like it came. That's about 5 or 10 minutes worth of work with the 400, and we've gotten all of the major pitting and stuff cleaned up. I'm not trying to get it perfect. Again, I'm not polishing this to a mirror finish, but it's pretty darn good. I'm going to now take it down to some 600 and probably 1,000, and then we'll do a light buff on it and see how that comes out. Alright, I took this one down to 1500. It's where it started looking about the sheen I want. I'm going to hit it lightly with the buffer. You got to be careful here because you'll end up with a mirror finish. And unless that's your aim, then you can just sand it back down with 1500 again if you get it a little bit too shiny. I'm also going to be unlacing all the spokes on the wheels and doing the same thing to the hubs. And then I'll clean up the spokes and either get new ones because they were originally chrome, or clean these ones up real well, and same with the wheels. So you might ask why you would spend this much time on these small parts when you can go buy a Chinese reproduction of this for 30 bucks or so. And if you're asking that question, then my videos and type of restoration is probably not for you, but I like to get these looking as good as I can, get it back to original, and I really like the sheen that this ends up with when we're done. That to me is the perfect sheen. That's how they look when they're brand new. A little bit more polishing and this would be mirror-like. So if you want that, if you want a kind of showy, very polished bike, then keep going. But I'm going to leave this one here, clean it up a little bit more, and then I will be coating it with that shark hide to maintain this finish. So that turned out good. The brake arm here is heavily pitted. These are chrome. On the 90s they were painted, or at least I don't remember being chrome. So I'm either going to have to zinc plate this and then polish it, or just paint it, because there's no bringing this chrome back to anything. Right now I'm just trying to sand it smooth because it's heavily pitted. So then we'll decide what we're going to do with it. Slowly sandblasting some parts, or glass bead blasting technically. Straightened out some pretty nasty dents in this. But it cleaned up nicely. You can see how pitted the brake arm is. And that's after some sanding and filing quite a bit. I'll probably sand it down some more. I got most of the chrome off of this, so I'll probably zinc plate it and polish it as opposed to painting it. Both of these will, or at least the battery cover will get some phosphoric acid over it to keep it from flash rusting, because it's going to be a while before I do paint. Also got the swing arm. It's going to get blasted. I got to go ahead and pull off this arm here and degrease it before I put it in the blaster. Got bushings in there as well. I don't know if I'll be replacing those or not. Remember them being quite a bear to get out on the Trail 90, so we'll see what kind of condition they're in.